When you start influencing without a title, there are people who are going to look at you bad. There are people who are going to say, huyo naye ni nani?
That's
When
why
that
I said, if you are given a promotion, bless your heart. People will follow you to a certain extent within your authority. But beyond that, you are done. If
Welcome to Starting Your Career Ambition podcast. You're tuned into another brand new episode. Every episode is rooted in career truths for professionals who are showing up but still feel a little lost. This isn't just a podcast, it's your next step. As always, it's all about catalyzing growth and empowering professionals. I'd now like to welcome our seasoned hosts, Hilary and Abdul.
hello again, Hillary. And hello, everyone. So, welcome back to Suka Podcast. I am your host, Abdul Al Busaidi, and my co host, Hillary. And today we are diving into a topic that resonates with professionals at every stage of their career. And the topic is workplace influence, leading without authority. I would like to ask a question. Have you sometimes see yourself, have you ever sat in a meeting and thought to yourself, I see where the conversation, you are in a meeting at work and you see the conversation is going, and you're thinking, I could help direct this conversation in a better direction, but I am not the boss. Maybe I should just keep quiet. Or maybe you have been part of a project where you work hard and you are contributing great ideas, and somehow your peers, the people that you're working with, starting beginning to look at you for guidance. You are not the boss, but they're coming to you for guidance, even though you are not the one who has the official title. I am certain this sounds familiar to many of you. And if this is the case, then you are not alone. This is the ability to lead, not because of your position, but because of your influence. Now, Hillary, I know you're a student of leadership. I would like you to please tell us what is your understanding about John C. Maxwell, and specifically when he says leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less.
and what you're asking is a deep reflection that many times you get to appreciate over time. I'm saying this choosing my words very carefully. We have read a number of books, but we have practiced the essence of the things we see in an everyday interaction with people at the workplaces. And I could start by giving this interesting example of this old man in my village who happened to pass on last year at the age of 91. It so happens that Mr. Ondari, as we call him, didn't go to school. But I can tell you for a fact, there is nothing that happened in that village that required a decision that did not get to him. I can tell you for a fact, in my family, my stepmother, God rest her soul in peace, a matriarch in a position, yes, but in my own family, we know fairly well that if there was a decision to be made and had been canvassed through her fairly, whatever she was guiding happened to be the decision that she influenced fairly every major decision in my family. We see this a lot, and I'm giving this from a very distant aspect, Abdul, and at a personal level on how we relate with this particular context. Workplace influence and leading without authority. We have said in many times, Abdul, and what I'm giving are examples that we see practical everywhere we have. That there is that one person, there are those people, when they have signed something, the boss doesn't have to pay so much attention to. In fact, if they have to contradict the person who signed it, they fairly may want to call them before saying no. So I meet one of these, my former colleagues, one of my former employers, with very stringent controls, very high up there. But apparently, there is this one brother who quietly does his own things. But when everybody says no, and he decides to write an email saying, do, people will do, even when it conflicts with the delegation of authority. And that's a multinational. call it crime, call it control lapse. The thing is, the brother wields a very high level of influence that the risk he takes could be an admitted corporate risk. He has risen up the ranks significantly and still continues to enjoy more power than he was enjoying when I left that organization. We can give many stories around it, Abdul. But one thing I've come to really appreciate over time is true power never comes through authority. It largely comes through influence. What really is influence over authority? What really does it mean to wield power without owning the power? Over to you, Abdul.
Fantastic. And Hillary, I would like to make a statement that may surprise a lot of people, and especially if this is your first time to hear it. And here it says, not all managers are leaders, and not all leaders are managers. What does it mean? It means title do not guarantee leadership. Leadership is not about hierarchy, it's about influence. And in every workplace, there is a go-to person who does not have formal title, but yet they are connectors. These are the problem solvers, and these are the encouragers. They are motivators. Their leadership does not come from organization chart. It comes from the value they add daily. So today we want to walk through what it means to lead without authority, because this is what we had promised everyone we are going to talk about. And more importantly, how can the listeners be able to cultivate that kind of influence? Fortunately, today also, Hillary, we have a lot of leadership students here. So we will engage them. And you know yourself, in the process of going through the session, we will look at 6 practical ways to grow your leadership impact. So whether you are leading upwards, sideways, with peers, or even downwards with those who may report to you indirectly. But here's the truth. Authority is given, but leadership is earned. And what do I mean by that, Hillary? There's a whole book by John Maxwell, Levels of Leadership, 5 levels of leadership. And we'll just talk about two or three of these levels. And level number 1, which is the lowest level, is authority level. What does it mean? Eric, also, you got this position, and it's a management position, and you are given the authority for you to lead. It was given. Nobody has agreed that you should be the leader. Automatically, either they like it or they don't like it, you are the leader. That's the level 1. It's a beautiful level to be at, Hillary, but it is a terrible position to stay there stagnant. Why? Because in order for you to move forward, in order for you to move upwards, you need to go to second level. Which is the second level? This is the authority level. What does this mean? This is when the people that you are leading give you the authority to lead them. How? By showing that you care for them, by showing that you are sincere. A manager can bark orders, leaders don't. They don't need to do that. So it's a big difference here. And because authority is earned, when the people that you are leading, the people that you are managing decide to give you the authority, then you have gone the second level of leadership. What is the third level? We will not go to the other levels. Is when you are producer, when you are when you can deliver what is required. Because it's one thing for you to be the boss, and it's another thing also for Eric to give you permission, but they want to see you if you are a producer. So it is so important for you to understand these 3 levels. So, but what does it mean to lead without authority, Hillary? I'll tell you. Leading without authority does not mean overstepping boundaries or maybe even bossing people around or pretending to be in charge when you are not. It is not about ego. It's about influence. And influence is earned through consistencies. It is earned through competency. It is earned through character. People follow those who they respect. That's why I say that if you are given a promotion, bless your heart. People will follow you to a certain extent within your authority. But beyond that, you are done. If they give you permission, then this is the situation where you tell, look, hey, Department B has an issue. Can you go and help them? And look, and Peter will say, yes, sir, or yes, ma'am. Why? Because they gave you permission to lead them. Now you're a leader. If you are still at level 1, they will say, Lakini, I'm also busy. So it is extremely, extremely important to have this realization.
I'll want to just take 30 seconds to maybe emphasize a small thing, taking a step back a bit. We are quite a number of us of this call, and really the question is, why are we doing this? I'll speak for myself. All of us are yearning for growth at our workplaces. We want to be valued more. We want to move up the food chain because we strongly believe that as you move up, then you are better valued from what goes to your pocket. But also there are a number of us here who want to be of more impact. But what does that impact really mean to you? And therefore we are actually having these conversations, Abdul, just so that we can empower each other to see the possibilities that there are for ourselves to unlock more potential and more value to ourselves. It becomes amazing when you are promoted and you are added to your bank account, courtesy of the value you bring to your employer, the value you bring to your workplace, the value you bring to the people you work with. I strongly believe that these conversations will enable us to make progress towards that direction. And therefore, Abdul, as we continue going to the base of this, I will always be curious to ask the question, what really are the building blocks of influence?
I just want to mention something that is very, very important.
Yeah.
You have, as I mentioned earlier, you have students of leadership here. Someone like Mercy, Lucy, Rispa, and many other. Gilbert, I'm sure, is here. These are people that have been attending leadership classes week in, week out.
Yeah.
And many have improved how they do their work on a daily basis. But some are waiting for opportunity. And I use the word opportunity. Why? Because when that opportunity comes, they will be ready. And we just want to stress that leadership is not bossing around. In fact, it's completely opposite. When you can talk to people and convince them and influence them to do things what need to be done, because there are times when your boss tells you to do something and you don't want to do it, but he has authority. He or she has authority. So as a result, you go ahead and do it grudgingly. You're not happy about it. But when the manager shift themselves from management to leadership, now they're influencing. And how did that happen? Because they show they care. So what am I saying? If you are a manager right now, and this is the first time for you to come across the science of leadership, leadership is caring. And when you take this ideology and convert yourself from a boss to a leader, you will see progress. You will see a lot of return from your investment. So, having said that, let's go to these 6 pillars of how you can develop influence without a title or without authority. And number 1 is how the actual influence. Hillary, formal authority gives you positional power. But then the ability to assign tasks or enforce rules, that's it. But also that ensures only the service compliance. Influence, however, is a genuine commitment. Influence, again, it comes from trustworthy, the ability and meaningful relationship. For example, an employee who consistently delivers results. His capacity to do what needs to be done is what we call leadership, even before he becomes a manager. Because why is influence so important? Because influence reaches the heart and mind, not just the behavior. When people follow you from their heart, then you know you have converted yourself to be a leader. So the number one pillar of leadership without authority, even though you don't have a title, is influence. And you do that by caring. I would like to ask you a question here, Hilary, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Through your career, for example, have you personally over the time felt that your influence carried more than your title? And I'm asking you this specific because you are a student of leadership.
It's a very interesting and fairly a good challenge, Abdul. Straight answer, I don't know, but I can give you a story.
Okay, go ahead, please.
So back in the day, that's from 2019, you are on to this true admission that you have to practice leadership. RISPA keeps saying that leadership happens daily, not in a day. And early on, I actually then realized that, wait a minute, people that work for me or people that work in our team, you don't know if they are following you because they are influenced by you or because you're the boss. Because in a typical organizational structure, you may end up deploying either without necessarily knowing, Abdul. Yeah? You don't know what is in the followers' minds. Are they doing things because the boss has dropped an email, or are they doing things because they want to? And truthfully, I'll come back to the question of trust a bit later. So the truth is, when we started FPKE, it was an experiment on leadership, because the people that will show up to FPKE community events are going to show up not because they want to, somebody's forcing them to. It's because, quite frankly, they want to. And therefore, the good question is, what is the better measure of influence than what you're seeing this evening, where all of us in the community, we are coming and listening to you, right? Nobody's forcing us. We have spared our time to actually get to do so. And over time, as we kept having these conversations and people kept showing up, and you then keep discussing and aligning with people, you actually start realizing that that was leadership in practice. So that is the front end of it. Now I go back to what you have actually passionately said in terms of the question of influence. And I've come to realize that that thing that you said, one of the building pebbles of it is caring. The question about caring is really embodied into the shell of what we call trust. But Abdul, what is trust? And for me, I have said it in many words, but I really resonate to what makes a trust quotient. When we say we are going to be trustworthy, what does it mean? We say we are going to show up every Thursday bi-weekly, and good to it, Abdul is always here. Every Wednesday morning, we say we are going to show up for leadership classes, and good to it, we are always there. The reliability aspect of it is a fact that I will find the person when I need to find them. Put it in corporate lingo, you will deliver when you say you're going to deliver. And if your report continues, your boss continues getting the report at 2, at 3, when you said you're going to be 3, then suddenly you start being reliable. Which brings the second element of it, Abdul, which is the question of credibility. So the report comes out at 3. How many errors does the report has to change, as the boss have to change? If he gets to a point where he doesn't have to look at your work, then you're not just reliable, you are credible. Which brings to the third element, Abdul, and that element, you have called it relationships. But the truth is, you can also call it intimacy. There are guys over here that the boss would rather keep everything to their chest and only give them piecemeal information because they don't know if they shared with you where else that information will be found. There are people in organizations that, quite frankly, know what everybody earns, but they are the only one who knows. Even their boss doesn't know they know. When your boss gets to a level where they can not only find you reliable, but also credible, and more importantly, that they can call you in the middle of the night and they know you have their back, then you can be sure they will have your back. Again, in corporate lingo, Abdul, we'll always keep saying that, guys, it is my time to go. I can't put in extra time. Even when the opportunity or the time calls for a crisis, will your colleagues ever trust you if you only come first before them? That for me is what trust means, Abdul. That influence is built on the foundation of caring, and caring can only happen when there is trust. When your boss can write and forward an email and say that Abdul will address this, don't just consider it as a delegation. Consider it as an opportunity. Consider it as a measure of your depth of influence. That, for me, Abdul, is how I will actually define the trust and the caring aspect.
I think you elaborate more than we can imagine. I would like to ask Rispa. Hi, Rispa. I have a question for you.
Yeah, I'm okay. Wambaji.
Hey, Rispa. We have talked some. The reason why I'm choosing you, pick up your name because you are one of the students of leadership here, and I just wanted, and we have talked so much about influence, and I just wanted you to elaborate also in your own way the difference between manager and a leader, and specifically when it comes to influence. Why is it so hard for managers to be influential in relationship in comparison to a leader?
Okay. What I can say, Abdul, is that you see, influence is really a lot about connection with people even before you start to ask them to manage themselves or to manage systems or processes. And so for a leader, their first action is that, can I have the people feel valued? Like I like to say, leadership has to be humane. It has to come from a place of humanity. That before I ask Hillary or Abdul to do X, can I first appreciate that this is a human being? So once that has happened, then intimacy, like Hillary was saying, is possible. The person feels safe, and then the person can now feel that you're the right person to lead them. They can give you permission to lead them. A manager, on the other hand, oftentimes is really focused on there's a particular structure or process, or there's a particular system, or there's a procedure, or there are specific tools that need to be used. And therefore, they're focusing on that and making sure that at the end of the day, my end goal is that my report is out by time T. But if you look at a good example of, there's a coach that is trending on LinkedIn right now. He's built a very good level of influence with his employees because he receives them first from the place of these are human beings. And then once that happens, the connection is there, the trust is there, the desire to get the work done is there, and ultimately then you just get what you need to do in your component as a manager. So for me, what I can then say is that the leader approaches it from people first. The manager approaches it from KPIs kwanza. Let the people come later. That would be my comment. Thanks.
You got it. That's all it is. The leaders are the people, are managers who care. Okay, so I think we have covered pillar number 1. Let's go to number 2, and that is trust and relationship. People or employees don't follow titles. They may do tasks because they are asked to, but they follow people they trust. For example, a colleague who notices stress in a teammate, and a colleague, and he steps in to help build credibility far beyond organization chart by asking what is happening, is there anything I can do for you? And when you start doing that, when you show that caring, then over time, the trust fosters voluntarily fellowship, which is always stronger than, what would I say, forced compliance, because you are required to do that. So trust and relationship at work is extremely, extremely important as far as building your capacity to be a leader. I would like also to throw this, the question of trust and relationship to someone of the, hi Lucy, how are you?
Hi, Abdul.
You have worked for many years. Can you
Yes.
recall a time when someone earned your trust at work without a formal leadership role?
Yes, Abdul. At my junior positions, when I was working as a junior accountant, I remember one of the things I struggled with is confidence. Confidence in terms of writing emails. And we all know in our finance professional, there's so much of people wanting to bend the rules, either because they have one interest or the other. And I was very conflicted because I had just joined a new organization, and I didn't know how to maneuver the politics, or rather how to maneuver the people who I felt like they are a bit undermining. And so what I did, there's one lady who was actually the loudest, but I felt she's the person I would talk to just to understand how I need to approach the issue in a way that I'll not feel like I'm stepping on people's toes. And me talking to that lady, I realized that whatever I wanted to write actually was not the wrong thing. I was just second guessing myself. And what we did, we wrote the email together. She took me through how to write an email that is not only let me say authoritative, but it is also kind at the same point. And so we wrote the email together, went out, and whatever you wanted to implement was implemented. And that is how I earned her trust. She was actually not a leader, but she was quite vocal. And I used that influence. Eventually, of course, I had to trust her. She became a mentor. And we walked through the journey. And until now, she's my friend.
Lucy, I like what you say, that she was not a leader. Your understanding at that particular time was that she was not a leader because she was not a manager. And what we're trying to do here today is to decipher that and say, no, you can be a leader without being a manager. Thank you so much, Lucy. Sincerely appreciate. Thank you. So Hillary will go to pillar number 3, and this is expert and value. Hillary, leadership often comes from being the person others truly rely on clarity during difficult situation, because whenever you have an issue, you say, go to the boss. But if there is someone there also, like for example, what example that Lucy gave a few minutes ago, that is the person that also you go to, because when she was able to solve the problem, and even you, when you are capable of solving problems and simplify a complex situation, then you become an integral part of the organization. So it is so important that whatever we have, our expertise and values, that we share with others. Hillary, what is your take about sharing expertise and value? And I will tell you why. Because during many discussions that we had, there was one thing that kept on insisting, that leadership is all about others. And I remember you saying, how about me? How about us? If we continue giving, all we are focused is giving to others, how about us? What is there for us? And I sincerely hope over the years that you have changed your stance And I would like to give you this opportunity for you to give some input on this, sharing your expertise and value. Hilary.
And that's honestly a very fairly practical subject as well, for many of us on the call. First, let me highlight the point, at least from my perspective, that some sense of expertise on a relevant subject happens to be the surest way of gaining influence in a corporate context. I have seen many times as salespeople will always keep coming to a particular person in the department, right? Now, there is one people will say that is not my job. Mbona nishinde nikisaidia watu wa sales kufanya kazi yao? But the funny bit is, when the sales people used to have their conferences, this guy used to be within their budget. And whenever finance needed something from sales department, believe it or not, it is this guy that will be asked to get it. Yet he wasn't the boss, he wasn't the financial controller. The expertise aspect, Abdul, and all of us listening on this call, in my view, there is something that you're good at. And that thing that you're good at, you can only know when you're good at it, when people keep asking you to share what you know about that thing you're good at. You can only test how good you are when the people that you work with have been trained by you to be as good as you or better than you. Knowledge is powerful. Knowing something is really powerful. It's only powerful if it helps to solve a problem. Whatever we are discussing here is, yes, it's motivational, but it's only relevant if we actually realize that that area that you know you're extremely gifted at, let people know that you are good at by experiencing it. I will continue speaking to this. As a matter of fact, somebody was asking me today, by the way, Hilary, why are you not a public speaker? You could make a lot of money. And I reminded them that this year, I am actually been making money out of public speaking, right? and it's something that I'm extremely proud of. But where did I learn that from, Abdul? It is because we show up on these sessions every other day.
We have completed an hour of conversation, and so much input, so many takeaways here, Hilary. Thank you very much. And so now we'll go pillar number 4, and this is something is a topic that we discussed on Wednesday morning, 7 p.m. Leadership Book Club, and leading by example. Why leading by example? Because actions speak louder than job titles. People are influenced more by what you do, more than what you say. In many organizations, the culture carriers are not the managers. They are the people on the field. But rather, these are the people that consistently exemplify the value of the company and the values that the company want to maintain. These are the workers who model the behavior we all want to see. So how do they do it? They do it quietly but powerfully by leading others without the title. Hi, Tori.
Hi, Abdul. How are you?
Pretty good. When we were having a discussion on Wednesday morning at the Leadership Book Club, you gave an example of how you like to finish your work before you go home, and sometimes it is 7, 8, and even 9. And over the time, you find yourself in the middle. What do I mean by that? You have people above you, which you actually mentioned you emulated, and then you have employees below you that are reporting to you, which they have no choice but emulating you also. Can you explain how you got the new recruits or the new employees to follow your direction? How did you manage to lead them? How did you manage to influence them to say, these are the values that we aspire, and these are the values that we normally utilize here at this company? How did you do that, Tori?
So I'm seeing that most of them are on the call, so I'm a bit shy. They're going to know my techniques, but that's fine. leadership is a skill, and I really thank the Wednesday Book Club because that has really helped me know that leadership is influence. Because number one, they need to have your permission. You can't force your way through them. Like, I believe I had around 5 new team members. It was very difficult the first 2 or 3 months, but the first step, we had to have a relationship, and therefore it means I had to stop being the manager and get to their level and be able to interact. So for me, it's proper communication, having a good relationship with them, and most importantly, what we learned on Wednesday is be the role model. So that is what I use.
Thank you so much, Tori. And then now we'll go to pillar number 5. This is what Tori was talking about, which is communication. But in addition to communication and vision, leaders are good leaders are also good communicators, because I remember listening to Salim Sufi when he said communication is the mother of leadership. Leadership is providing clarity, and clarity comes through effective communication. You don't need to be a CEO to articulate a vision. You work in an environment and you know what is happening, and it is so important when you explain why something matters and you rally people around it. Why are we doing things here the way we are doing them? And when you keep them motivated, you are exercising leadership. Okay. There is Vivian. Vivian, hi, good evening, Vivian. Go ahead, please.
Good evening. So my question would be, when it comes to building a relationship between you and your leader, or between you and the people you lead, how do you draw the line between oversharing? So how do you create a balance or draw a boundary between you getting too much information such that it starts bothering you, and also you ensuring you just get enough to build this relationship so that work gets done?
Okay, Hillary, let me answer that question first, and then you can jump in. You see, it also depends on individual. Like myself, I like to give stories, and I like to know. I love people. So as far as I am concerned, I would say I'm not even thinking about boundaries. Tell me what is happening in your life. We are human beings. This is my philosophy. If you are married, there's a very high chance that you spend almost 10 hours, 1 hour to go to work, 1 hour to come back, almost 8 to 9 hours at work. So the people that you're working with, you spend more time with them than even your own spouse or even your own family. So it is interesting when you are involved with people, and because they are your friends, they are people that you work together. And the more you show caring, the more you separate yourself, the more you say, I am a leader. But maybe I'm an extrovert. You have people that are introverts. A, they don't want to know what is happening to other people. B, they don't want to tell people what is happening in their lives. So they are focused only on work. If that's the case, fair enough. But the key important thing here is when you are at work, it helps you feel that you are part of the team when your managers or when the people you work with give you the information on what is happening around the company. I'm not talking about gossiping. I'm talking about facts that you missed out. Maybe the company is planning to acquire another company. These are critical pieces of information. Maybe there's a new manager that is coming. Maybe there's a new department that is being formed. So all these are very important pieces of information that you can share without thinking that you have gone beyond a certain line, provided you do not gossip. So you either choose to talk about people as friends, or choose to focus mainly about work and share the information. Madam Yamina, I see you make a statement. Can you jump in and give your input on this drawing of the line? Where do you draw the line in sharing of information or maybe develop the friendship? Where do you draw the line?
Well, it depends. It depends on cultures. Again, some cultures are really close to sharing some personal information. But I don't think within our African brothers and sisters, we're more open if you compare us to American or to European cultures. So I don't think generally people nowadays tend to be really more open and sharing of their experience and learning from each other. So the more people are really trusting each other, you see this openness. And again, how they interact is very important on how they are led. So if this is properly organized among them, this is going to be.
And Vivian, that's a good question. I will just say it in my honest view: we are first human beings before we are colleagues, before we are teammates, before we are bosses and juniors. When you see an organizations where people are careful about what they say, if you had the ability to measure their trust quotient, it will score very low. Yeah, it is one sign of a fact of there being cracks. But you're asking a fundamental question for you: where do you draw the boundaries? And I will say, in my honest view, we are all human beings. Relators are human beings. My orthodox way is there are no boundaries, because we are all human beings in the first place. I feel comfortable, really comfortable, to speak about things that are relevant. I only keep trade secrets. We are human beings. When we relate as human beings, we create more value than when we bring the barriers and the blockers of oversharing and undersharing. Abdul.
Thank you. I see Marcy. Yeah, Marcy says it depends on culture and trust you have developed with the team. If people have developed deep connection, it comes naturally. If people are vindictive, you don't share because it will be used against you. Marcy, hi. Can I ask you, how do you do that? How do you develop that relationship, if you don't mind?
It really boils down to how do people relate in an organization. I think I've mentioned before that some of the deepest relationships I have, my closest friends are actually people from work. So there is always that one person. I really don't mind sharing about anything, including personal things in my family, with these colleagues. Yet I've also seen instances where somebody quotes you verbatim.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So, Hilary, let's talk about pillar number 6. And this is an important one. This is an important one because most of the time when we talk about the word leader, we think is that position being the boss and people are doing things for you. But in reality, the most underestimated form of leadership is service. Influence grows when you elevate others, not yourself. When you help a struggling teammate, when you are mentoring newcomers or ensuring someone else shine in the meeting, that's where you build loyalty. We've talked about leadership is about others. We talk about communication is about others. So, and this is where at times people ask, how about us? If we are just giving, when are we going to receive? When you meet another leader like yourself. Because this is what leaders do. They take care of each other. This is what leaders do. They provide services. What you call, John Maxwell called this leading from the middle. You don't command from above where you're putting pressure. You lead across and upwards by putting others first. You see, Hilary, the key is here. People will follow you not out of obligation, but out of respect and admiration. And I would like to ask a question here. Has anybody gained influence by helping others or mentoring someone? What did you notice about how people respond afterwards? Evelyn. How about you?
Hi, Abdul.
Hi.
Yeah, hi. Quite interesting. Abdul, I really like people. I like people that I work with, and I really care about them. But mostly it's that liking. Most of the people that I work with, I see the best in people, and I want the best from people. And what I have seen happen over the years is that people genuinely like working with me, want to work with me. Even when we have very strict timelines, even when we have deliverables that need to be met, you will naturally see that people are actually going out of their way. I have seen it, I have felt it, because things are moving even when you're not really in the execution and following people. But generally you just feel that atmosphere where people are pushing themselves to do these things. When people are stuck, they are coming up to say, this is where I'm stuck. People are working extra hours. Some when audit, when the timelines are strict, some are even literally sleeping in the office. And I have not asked them to, and they're not dull at the next day. So I totally agree. And the conversation we are having about you caring about people, you being, and because even clients themselves, clients also work with people they like. Equally for us, people will work for you because they actually like working for you. And of course, the other teams will see different dynamics where people feel dragged, they feel pushed, they lack energy. So I can relate with the conversations we are having today, and quite appreciate your inputs.
Thank you very much, Evelyn. Hillary, I think we need to make a closing remark. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to make mine?
Thank you so much, Abdul. I think I will. There was a hand up by a gentleman called Bethwell. I don't know if he's still on the call.
Yes, I looked for him, but I could not see him. Oh, he's here.
I'm still
Bethwell,
here.
yes, go ahead, please. Ask your question.
I think my question had already been addressed, but what I just wanted to say is that I work in an environment where asking people questions outside, rather getting to form a relationship outside work, is deemed extremely intrusive. When I first moved to where I currently work, I'm not in Africa. In Africa, we have a culture of every morning you ask someone, how's your weekend? How's your morning? How have you been? And stuff like that. How's your family? And it will be deemed to be something extremely noble at times to just get to know people outside the office. But in the environment that I currently work, even if at times saying good morning to someone would be deemed intrusive, or when you ask someone, how was your weekend, how's your family, it'd be deemed intrusive. So my question would be, one, how do you form a relationship that is not intrusive, but still transcends culture, and you want to be a leader? And the other aspect is you becoming a leader without authority, by the fact that then your manager or whoever is you report to looks at your ability to perform tasks, and your tasks are taken with authority, and they look at you and say, this person is able to be doing tasks, and each and every single task then comes to you. How do you ensure that you do not take more than you can chew, while also trying to become a leader without authority? I think those are probably two questions. Yeah.
Well, so let me first preempt what we have said. Relationship is just one aspect out of the 6 pillars you've discussed. It's not the only one. Being a good human is a good thing, but different cultures interpret being a good human in different ways. So you're very spot on. Cultures are very different. But you hear stories of people who are doing what Abdul said first, going an extra mile, offering to help, not just clocking the 8 hours, doing the 8 hours and offering to do an extra 30 minutes, an extra 1 hour to help a brother who's struggling. And you know what happens when you go an extra mile of being a good human and wanting to do more and wanting to help? Those people that you are doing that for will start respecting you for your willingness to serve. So I think it's a circle that you actually have to realize that there is a communication element, there's clarity, there's wanting to be a good human. There's something we said, you have to be reliable, not just reliable, be credible. That aspect of credibility means you have to know something, not just that, want to develop intimacy, which is the relationship we have talked about. One thing that I wanted to remind the listeners is when you start influencing without a title, there are people who are going to look at you bad. There are people who are going to say, "Huyu naye ni nani?" When that happens, just know that you are showing your leadership. Instead of being discouraged, be encouraged, because it's in that process that you have started seeing the result. The next thing I wanted to say, Abdul, is leadership is influence. Influence is communication. Communication is connection. So really, leadership is connection. One of the things we learned the other day in our class was take a walk in the corridor, or rather walk slowly in the corridors. Seek to connect with people. Bethuel, I strongly encourage that even in places where you cannot connect by getting to know people, there are areas and opportunities in which you can actually be able to connect, even to the most difficult one. Be a good human, Abdul. Good humans can be taken advantage of. People will want to, take advantage of your kindness, Abdul. But don't stop being a good human, because ultimately, good humans always get the best, even if they were in the grave.
Thank you so much, Hilary. That was brilliant. So, my friends, what does this all mean for you? It means you don't need a title or a corner office or a direct report to make leadership impact. Leadership is not about position. It's about permission. People give you permission to lead when you earn their trust, when you demonstrate your expertise, when you model the right behavior, when you communicate with clarity, and when you serve with sincerity and selflessly. So here is the challenge for you. Tomorrow, when you work in your workplace, ask yourself, how can I add value today? Remember, authority may come with a job description, but leadership is earned every day through influence. And the best news, anyone at any level can lead without authority. So thank you for joining me today in this Suka episode today. I hope this conversation has helped you see leadership in new lights and inspire you to embrace influence as your true source of power, you yourself. Therefore, until the next time, keep leading no matter where you are. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Abdul, sorry, I forgot something. And as we wrap up, I forgot something, and I will request your kindness to allow me share to the guys who are listening to us that our Suka program is ongoing. We are starting our cohort 4 in this October. Imagine, Abdul, we are in cohort 4. And I'm sincerely indebted to you, Abdul, for continuing to show us what leadership can do when it's purpose-driven. For all of us who have joined this session this evening, you all believe in what being good people takes, what being good leaders can do. And you can see that at the end of the day, the results of being a good leader are translated in how we take our organizations to the next level.